Okay, tasmanta. Welcome to Things You Didn't Ask For and Didn't Need to Know, the show where we discuss random stuff that we find interesting before deep diving into the main topic, which this week is technology destroying the quality of human interaction? I'm Donal.
I'm Barry.
And I'm Mart.
Okay, Barry, what have you got for us?
So tonight I am going to be talking about some quotes from people in history. So we'll start off with one from Joseph Stalin. Apparently sent a lot of killers to kill Joseph Broz Tito, the leader of Yugoslavia, and he sent him a note back to Joseph Stalin saying, "Stop sending people to kill me. We've already captured 5 of them, one of them with a bomb and another with a rifle. If you don't stop sending killers, I'll send a very fast working one to Moscow, and I certainly won't have to send another." So that was his response to Joseph Stalin. And apparently Stalin liked the note so much he kept it in his safe. So
nice.
It had an effect.
Seems like a weird memento to keep. Kind of a reminder of your failure to kill a guy, but...
Joseph Stalin and weird in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Not a surprise there. The next one is from a guy called Robert Surcouf, I think is how you pronounce it. He was a French privateer, or pirate rather, and he captured a British vessel, and the British officer on board said to him, "You French fight for money, while we British fight for honour." And to which Robert Surcouf replied, "Sir, a man fights for what he lacks the most," which I thought was brilliant.
It's a great line, but I wonder, that sounds so out of a Hollywood movie. You just wonder, did that really happen?
And also, a lot of these old quotes, you got to wonder. A lot of them.
It's a great line, but then again, you don't want the truth to get in the way of a good story.
Exactly. Robert Erskine Childers, an Irish rebel, his firing squad missed on their first shot. And he said to them, "Take a step closer, lads. It'll be easier that way."
Oh, man.
Now, it's hard to get any more badass than that.
I mean, it's badass, but I would have tried to invoke that old rule. You know, back in the old days, if you were going to get hanged and if the rope broke or something, they took it as a, sign for God, you're free now. I would have been kind of saying, so does that apply here? not like try again and do better.
Yeah, step closer. I thought it was very badass. Another Irish one, a British general said to Michael Collins, "You're 7 minutes late, Mr. Collins." To which Michael Collins responded, "You've kept us waiting 700 years. You can have your 7 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
That harkens back to the first episode when I kept saying 800 years of oppression.
Yes.
Maybe it was only 700 years. I had it on some tax there.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to argue about 700 or 800 years, 100 years.
That's only a century.
Yeah. Groucho Marx, this one from, I love this one. He said, "I'll never forget a face, but in your case, I'll make an exception."
Barry, you should say it like Groucho Marx.
Yeah, if I could. Would be that I could, Donald, but I can't. A certain Captain Lloyd W. Williams, after being advised by a French officer to withdraw during a battle in World War I, replied, "Retreat! Hell, we just got here."
That reminds me of, do you ever watch Band of Brothers, the TV show? I can't remember what episode it was, or I can't even remember the line, but it was a badass line. Just they were the 101st were behind enemy lines and then got surrounded by the enemies, and Captain Winters was just kind of, surrounded by the enemies, we're surrounding them, or something like that.
We've got them just where we want them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually a quote from some general as well.
Oh, no, yeah, the Band of Brothers is, everything that you see in it is real, so the kind of, that bit would have been real in some case, but whatever.
This one is from a General James Mattis. He sent a message to the Iraqi leaders in 2003. He said, "I come in peace. I didn't bring artillery, but I'm pleading with tears in my eyes. If you fuck with me, I'll kill you all."
Okay, so we do know that, would you say that the Americans lost, or is it a thing that the Americans definitely lost the war in Iraq?
Well, it's like saying, no, in fact, there's not like anything. They definitely did. They went in, they had a ton of objectives, they didn't achieve them, they spent $2 trillion. Now, you know, last week, Barry, we were talking about the difference between $1 million and $1 billion and how many years and the different. $2 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean, that money is
That's how much the American government
unimaginable.
lost.
That's how much they spent in Iraq on stuff that's now being used by the Taliban. And it was an epic fail militarily. Now, it's awful because I know I'm trash talking. People might be listening to this who, I don't know someone who fought there or maybe died there or lost something there. It's awful, but it was a failure. There's
But
no, by
you said
any
the
objective.
Taliban. Are you mixing up Iraq and Afghanistan?
No? Who's over in it? No.
The Taliban are in Afghanistan.
Oh, sorry, you're talking Iraq.
Iraq in 2003, yeah.
Strike that from the record. No.
Consider it struck.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's they
Although,
killed.
just to be clear, they toppled dominoes starting with Iraq that led to ISIS ultimately.
Yeah.
I mean, they stirred up the hornet's nest in the Middle East without knowing what they were doing.
Yeah.
Although I did a total George W. Bush by mixing up Iraq and Afghanistan, so I can't disagree.
We'll move back to the lighter stuff. This one is from King Leonidas the First at the Battle
Oh, nice.
of Thermopylae. Yeah, so
The guy who
Spartans-
made the chocolate.
Yeah, that guy. So prior to the battle, the Persians, who were overwhelmingly numerically superior, their ambassador said to the Spartans that he demanded that the Spartans surrender their arms, to which Leonidas replied, "Come and take them."
Was that? I'm sure you saw the movie 300.
Yeah, that's in that movie. It
Is that line in it? Because all I remember is, "This is Sparta,"
which
kicking
they
them down the
can't
well.
prove. They did throw Persians in the well. The emissaries that they sent, they did throw them down the well, but there's no historical proof of the kick and this is Sparta. But the threat of arrows darkening the sky and then we shall fight in the shade line, apparently historically they think that was said, and the come and take them they think was said as well because they found graffiti of that in the Spartan language all over
Oh,
the place.
class. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that there's some historian, Herodotus, and he documented loads around that time. Because you'd be wondering, how did they know something that happened 2,000 years ago?
Yeah.
But there's literally, there's one famous one because he wrote this massive tome, or maybe loads of them, that were just documenting tons of stuff around that time. But yeah, it's kind of like the same way that we know now what happened 100 years ago because historians wrote it down.
Yeah, there's a record. And this is the Spartans again, actually, and this is what was called the Third Sacred War, where a message was sent to their king, again to the Spartans, that said, "You are advised to submit without further delay, for if I bring my army onto your land, I will destroy your farms, slay your people, and raze your city." The Spartans answered with a one-worded note, and the word was "if."
Yeah. Nice.
I believe
Nice.
it. The Spartans were definitely, historically, they were literally like the Klingons. Anyone who tries to threaten the Spartans, don't start a war with us. I mean, that is all they lived for.
They had other ones as well against Philip of Macedonia and stuff like that, where same idea. They were like, "Yeah, we're going to fight all the way over here and India and stuff. We're not going near you guys. You guys do what you do down there. We're going this way."
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Spartans also, they weren't like looking back now, they seem cool.
Oh no. They were not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But the Spartans were not cool. They were horrible.
They
If
were
you-
awful.
They would
they
kill
were
their kids.
absolutely awful. Yeah.
They were like, "Nah, that kid looks rubbish. Throw him down the rocks and maybe make another one. He might be better."
Yeah.
They literally were
Looks
that bad.
rubbish.
They were they were into eugenics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff as well. Like there was this thing I heard once where apparently the women would shave their heads on their wedding night so that the men could transition from the tomfoolery they'd be getting up to in the army to being in a married relationship. The difference of being with a man all the time and being with a woman.
What?
Yeah. Apparently. And the final quote I have here is from good old Winston Churchill.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
He has brilliant quotes.
"If you're going through hell, keep going."
Yeah.
Which is a famous one, but I like it. I think it's good.
A brilliant one that Winston Churchill has. It's something like a woman came up to him and said, like, do you know this one?
Yeah.
It's like, "Sir, what is it? If you know it."
Well,
Is it?
there's a couple of
It
them.
was like-
There's one where a woman said to him in the House of Commons, I think, "Sir, you're drunk." And he replied, "Yes, but in the morning I shall be sober, and you shall still be..."
Ugly.
Yeah, I don't want to say it.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it.
He had loads of them. He had
Yeah.
tons of them.
There's one I was expecting to see on the list. It's maybe not the best quote ever, but it's definitely the best recent quote ever in terms of badassery. And I think it's actually true. You know, Volodymyr Zelensky, when he was when the war started in Ukraine, basically the same thing as naturally your country's been attacked. The rich people grab their suitcase of cash and run out the door. And when the Americans were taking out all their ambassadors and everything out of Ukraine at the start, because it was assumed Ukraine's going to be fallen in 3 weeks, that was a given. So the Americans had said to Zelensky, they told him, we'll arrange for you to get airlifted out or wherever you want. And he said, no, I don't want a lift. I want bullets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a Bruce Willis line right there.
Right there, yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's a good one. No, I didn't. It's a good quote. Like I said, I just picked some random quotes that I liked from the past. But Zelensky's pretty cool, and I hope nothing comes out in the next 10 or 20 years.
100% guarantee you this. Zelensky's only going to go two ways. Either he's going to die in the war or very, very soon after, and I really hope that doesn't happen because I do think he is a hero, or he will not die, the war will end, and then it'll be, one of my favourite quotes out of a Batman movie?
He'll live long enough to become...
Yeah, either you die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And the world will not sit back and enjoy the status of, oh, look at that hero. They get bored after that after a while. Suddenly they'll want some dirt on him. They'll dig something up or some unpolitically correct thing he said in a comedy sketch 20 years before the war.
Because people are thick.
I mean, I wouldn't even go that far. It's just human nature. But do you know the way Churchill was the hero of England and then he grew old and was still the hero and he died a hero? And surely he wasn't because he was also an asshole. But that's definitely going to happen to Zelensky. If he does survive the war, there's going to be the whole PR thing.
I hope he does.
Where something's going to happen to him after, where he's going to just be looking bad by the woke kind of culture kind of thing.
Like, war-wise, Churchill was a hero to the English, but to the Irish, he was absolutely atrocious.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Mark, do you have anything?
Not really today. I mean, there's one thing that I heard in the last 2 weeks that really surprised me. I kind of knew about it, but then I don't know. I kind of assumed it wouldn't happen. Before the Ukraine war, I had heard that Germany had been retiring its nuclear power plants. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me in the world of either you believe climate change is real and you do something about it, or maybe you think, climate change, it's all a hoax, and then you just keep burning your coal and it's fine. But I think they claim to believe in climate change, and then they decided, no, we're going to retire all of our nuclear power plants. And I guess the logic behind it is, look at Chernobyl, that's so dangerous.
I don't think that's why they did it, though.
That was the initial thinking, because believe it or not, the thinking of it, there was so much pushback when they decided to do the stuff in the 60s and 70s, and they started building them anyway, obviously, just, never mind the tree-hugging hippies, they built them anyway kind of thing. But then Fukushima happened. Now, 3 Mile Island scared everyone, but then Fukushima was the kind of okay, that's it, line in the sand, we're getting rid of our things, and that's it, they're going. But they heavily, heavily invested in pipelines to Russia, because Germany were doing the logic of kind of, if you economically invest in a country and you're dependent on each other, then you're less likely to go to war, because that's what kind of the theory behind the EU that prevented World War III kind of thing after World War I and II.
Yeah.
But obviously that didn't work out for them. They spent, I think it was $1 trillion on the Nord pipeline that they built to Russia, and they were getting, I don't know, huge percentage of their energy from that, and they were in the process of building a second one. And then Ukraine happened, and then they're like, oh, no, stop that, cancel it.
But I thought what they were doing was that they were heavily investing into renewables, and they said, right, we're going to get, to help us, kind of push us to get these renewables. Obviously, we can't rely on Russia, and obviously nuclear power isn't the way to go. So let's just invest in renewables and close down the nuclears. And
they that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But when they got rid of some, because they closed the last 3 now, a week ago or something. When they got rid of the ones prior to that, all of the energy that those nuclear power plants were creating, 80% of that went back to coal.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, they're still doing the renewables. That's the plan. But like the whole theory is, and again, that's if you believe the climate change scientists, that we're running out of time. So we can all sit on our hands and say, oh, let's throw up the odd solar panel here and there and stick an old windmill blowing up in the wind over there. That's not good enough. You got to do stuff fast. And if you have functioning nuclear power plants that are generating energy, and to say, let's shut them down and then put a 30-year plan in place to build enough renewables to replace, it'll get there, but it's not enough fast enough. And I get that maybe they made the decision before Ukraine when they were thinking, hey, our buddies in Russia are going to sort us out. We're going to get 60% of all of our energy from there. Yeah, that's fine, until Russia decided, okay, we're warring Ukraine, we're jacking up the price, we're turning off the tap over here to squeeze you. Then to still decide, no backsies, we said we're going to turn them off now, so we're just going to have to keep on and turn them off. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You
anyway.
think they'd be able to say, well, you look at, because of circumstances, let's slow this down.
Well, funny,
let's ramp up renewables, but let's slow down the shutting down of the...
Yeah, when the war started, they said, wait, okay, let's delay the shutting down by 6 months. So they give it 6 months. But then after 6 months, they're like, well, we said we were going to do it now, so we're doing it, and it's done.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Makes sense.
It threw me a bit kind of, weird.
Yeah. And you never know what the reason behind it is. Possibly somebody in the coal industry were like, hey...
Well, Barry, it's interesting you say that, because I heard this, and I wasn't going to say it because I didn't research it to know if it's true or not. And I do try to not do misinformation. But I did hear that the person who was involved, like decades ago, in the big push for shutting down the nuclear plants at the time, and effectively got that pushed through. Now, not got the decision pushed through 6 months ago, but I mean, I'm talking, because they made the decision to shut down all of their plants years ago. That person then went on to go on the board of some Nordstrom oil or something like that, or gas, that was involved in building the pipeline to Russia. So it's kind of, it really is, if it's true, it's a definite case. You see, part of it is, hey, I mean, who better to put on the board of a gas pipeline than a person who has got a high level career in energy, right? It makes sense. But it also makes sense to think, yeah, he's the person who literally created this job and now he's going into it. Yeah. And was that a convenient coincidence, or was it, slip him an old suitcase of cash to say, come over here, you got a job here, just make this policy go through first. And this was in Dope Sick as well. You know the TV show on Netflix?
No.
You know how in America there's like a huge opioid problem?
Oh, yes.
And there is a documentary. Oh, it's not on Netflix. It's on one of them, I don't know, Amazon or Apple or something. Definitely worth looking out for. And if you don't have the channel, find it where you find your usual stuff that you find. It's really a good show in really just showing kind of, here's years ago before the opioid crisis, and just bringing you there, and it shows at the different levels. But basically it's one family that pushed one drug that really got the laws changed, got the drugs out there, that really created the drug kind of culture in America. And
it's
I mean
Disney.
Drug culture. It's on Disney, yeah. The drug culture as in the legal drug culture, which ultimately led to the illegal drug culture when the American government said, wait a minute, drugs are bad. So they just banned them. And then loads of people were legally able to buy these opioids over the counter, suddenly couldn't, but found, oh, there's a guy around the corner who sells heroin or meth or whatever for, even half the price.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just it's shocking to see, but you can see how they influenced I can't remember what it's called, what's the name of the agency in America that...
DEA.
No, the DEA is the enforcement agency that stops the illegal drugs, but there's the one that signs off on...
Oh, the FDA.
Thank you, Thank you, Barry.
Federal Drug Administration.
Yes, you could really see how they didn't just break loads of laws, they just influenced the FDA to make the laws work for them, or classify what their drugs were to meet the laws that were already there, even though they really didn't meet those requirements. It was just so shady.
Yeah.
And yet, who broke a specific law, who do you prosecute? Anyway, I'm just saying, I heard the same kind of hearkenings about the whole kind of German push to shut down nuclear plants in a world where...
I mean, every country is corrupt. All politicians really are probably at some level corrupt.
Except Ireland, I think.
No, well... Yeah. That hurts my soul a little bit, though, to say, when people say all politicians are corrupt, because I have no doubt there's definitely a significant percentage of politicians that are not corrupt, maybe even more than 50% that aren't. See, what really happens is all it takes is a few. All it takes is, what are those guys in Kerry, the guys with
the Healy Rays,
right? All it takes is a few cowboys like that to really paint all politicians.
Oh
they're
no,
all
hold
corrupt
on
and
though.
crooked.
The Healy Rays are open about it.
Well, I guess
There's nothing shady
actually,
about them.
yeah,
They just do what they do and they don't care. It's the ones who are shady about it that you have to watch out for. Again, I'm going to quote someone here, but I can't remember who said it, but it was like 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name.
Yeah, okay. Well,
So
lawyers, I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
politicians
Mart,
are definitely in the same boat.
You mentioned cowboys there, so I'm going to do that as a segue into. Do you know who Stetson is?
Well, I know what a Stetson hat is, which traditionally known as a cowboy hat. So I guess a Stetson is
Very
the guy
obviously,
who
you know.
invented it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he a milliner of some type?
No.
What is a milliner?
A milliner is
A guy who makes hats,
a hat maker, as opposed to a tanner.
who makes leather.
Yeah, which is how hats used to be made long ago. So this is like just really, it's a funny thing because I just heard this and for some reason I was like, oh, that's a really cool story. So I just thought I'd say it here. So it's like when we think of a cowboy hat, it's the hat that has the kind of the wide
The
rim
10
around
gallon,
it.
the 10 gallon hat, which was fairly uncommon in the Wild West. The bowler hat was the most popular.
It was
The bowler hat.
Yeah.
It was, but the bowler hat was it was tanned. It was a tanner hat. So that was made with urine and ammonia and all this kind of stuff.
What, the bowler hat or what?
When
When you're shaping these hats and stuff like that,
You pee on them?
yeah.
basically.
I mean, you don't pee on them, but you get urine.
Yeah,
From
you don't use
wherever
your own
you
urine,
get
you just buy it from the urine shop.
But it's like, no, it was literally bought. And I don't actually know what urine it was. Was it like human or animal or something? But that's where the expression, the chemicals that they used to use in it, is where the expression mad as a hatter came from. Do you know that?
Because I presume that the chemicals would make you mad or something?
Yeah.
They use mercury, you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, basically, so I was looking at this thing and it was like John B. Stetson was like sick and he was living in the East, basically like in America, like Philadelphia area. And the weather wasn't good for him, but he was a hat maker. So he went across to California, that area, that general area. And that's where the weather was good. And as his health was improving, he started going out and doing cowboy stuff, like, okay. And then he made this hat kind of like using what is it all using I think otter fur or something like beaver pelt, yeah. And then that's how he invented the Stetson. And then you know the way that we have the image of the cowboy riding off in the sunset wearing this,
Beaver hat.
a Stetson. Don't think of it as a beaver hat, but think of it as a Stetson, and really cool. Okay, it was like a cowboy is said to have seen J.B. Stetson in his unusual hat, rode up, tried on the hat for himself, and paid Stetson with a $5 gold piece, riding off into the sunset, like wearing the first hat. Yeah. So it's cool, like.
That's brilliant.
What else? Another thing we were talking about, guys, the last day is when we were playing poker is the most spoken. It is
The most spoken language in the
yeah,
world.
the most spoken language in the world, and it's English.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I was shocked about to hear.
Wait,
Like,
really?
Yeah.
yeah.
What's really funny was that you were there for that conversation.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I may have had some beers there too.
Yeah.
But
you
it's
love
like
poker.
so. It's like English is spoken by 1.45 billion people, and Mandarin is spoken by 1.12 billion people.
Man, the Chinese are going to hear that and they're going to be like,
What about
challenge
the
accepted.
Indians? I think it's going to be in the next 3 or 4 years, India's population is going to surpass China's.
Yeah,
but
But I
India
presume they have all different languages.
India
Yeah,
aren't
but-
doing it on purpose. It's just
Yeah.
going to happen. Whereas in China, if they want it to happen,
No, I've
They'll
lost
make
all
it
faith
happen.
in China. For China's kind of fecked
well,
up.
no, I'm not saying it in a good way.
All right.
Also, you had faith in China to do what?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, to like any of the crap we ever bought came from China. Like there was a time when we didn't look down at China.
Well, we kind of don't look down at them now. We're more looking up at
What
them
I
nearly.
And in
absolutely
fe- and in
let
fear.
it go out on the internet that I'm absolutely 100% against Winnie the Pooh mascot flaming Xi Jinping.
Not sure what you're against there. Is
no,
it
no,
Winnie
no.
the Pooh
As in,
or the leader of
if
China?
if I said that sentence in China, I would literally be arrested.
You'd disappear.
Basically, the leader
Hey,
of China.
It could actually happen to you here.
Yeah.
So,
Next time I'm going into a Chinese, like
yeah, but I think
not
the
racist at
leader
all.
of China. What's the name again? Say it again.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, he
It's actually Xi Jinping.
Okay, well, for some reason, the notion of mocking him by comparing him to Winnie the Pooh became a thing, and he could have just ignored it and it would have gone away, but he got super butthurt and really offended and don't show your weakness, and he totally did. So now everyone's just
it's the Barbra Streisand effect.
Exactly.
So what else happened? Like since we had our last thing, there was a SpaceX launch, and it was a RUD. Do you know what that is?
RUD.
Ant-Man.
Does that mean it's a fuck up?
Basically it's a rapid unscheduled disassembly, which is basically that's what they call them. That's what like Elon Musk called
rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah,
that's such a corporate way of saying it, isn't
Elon
it?
Musk didn't invent it. SpaceX didn't invent it, but it is.
But they popularized it by blowing up loads of
hugely
stuff.
popular. Yeah, pretty much.
But I thought they were expecting. They kind of didn't expect that to not blow up.
The launch itself actually went pretty like the spaceship itself. The Starship itself pretty much did what it was meant to do. And Elon Musk even said like a year ago, it's like, when we do get it, there's going to be a fantastic firework to watch, probably, type of thing. So none of that is unexpected. What is unexpected is there's some of the strongest, I think, so they, just really quickly, okay, Aerodyne made the F1 rocket that's on the, the Apollo missions, the big massive rocket that's on those to lift the Apollo rocket in the first place. They're called the F1 engines. They were the strongest engines, okay? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I guess, back in the day.
Back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. But they're actually pretty much still the strongest rockets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They haven't improved on that at all in 60, 50 years?
Very, very, very little.
Wow.
That's how efficient, that's how amazing the F1 rockets were.
God bless NASA. There's something else.
They were absolutely ass-kicking. They were just absolutely...
They were.
No, they're well, I will defend NASA to the end.
Okay.
But
I am wearing a t-shirt of NASA, so I kind of have to
nice.
as well.
I'm wearing a t-shirt of SpaceX, actually.
I'm wearing Dungeons and Dragons.
We have said our allegiances somewhat. But basically, the tower that... Did you know... Did you see the launch?
No.
Right?
No.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it was a big thing watching the launch. And the launch took off and it was amazing seeing it. But these massive, and I mean huge plumes of smoke happened. There's a person I follow, Everyday Astronaut. I think he was I don't know if he was 5 miles away or 5 kilometers away. And they had to run inside from the observation deck they were on because there was so much dust landing on them.
Oh, wow.
And when they took pictures, I'll put up a picture on the in the YouTube channel. When the dust literally settled, there's I think a 13-foot crater underneath where the rocket was.
Because so orders of magnitude bigger than anything
they ever. Was that 13 foot deep or wide?
13 foot deep and then...
13 foot deep?
Yeah.
That doesn't actually sound that big when you say the size of the rocket.
I'll put it this way, Barry. This is...
I know what 13... You don't need to...
Oh, yeah.
I know what 13 foot looks like.
Okay, yeah, you do.
I do.
Yeah. But it literally obliterated the it made a crater in the.
Well, that makes sense now because I saw a video on Reddit of it was just somebody, I don't know where, but there was a pic. There was, I don't know, it looked like it was caught by a camera that was affixed to some security camera to something, but it was showing this car.
Oh yeah, the car.
The launch was going off and the car just get like windows get all exploded in it and everything. They just had it left parked too close to the launch.
Yeah. It was anyway. That was really, really, really good. And that was the RUD. What else?
I'm trying to remember that.
And the only other thing I have there is misophonia. Am I saying that correctly?
I have no idea. No. Yeah, misophonia.
Yeah, misophonia is like when you don't like hearing chewing noises. That's
I am sorry now, but I have to correct you there because you are 100% incorrect.
Go on. What is it?
That's like saying, I don't like broccoli, but I eat it anyway because it's good for me.
Okay, I don't see the connection.
Misophonia is, you chewed, and since we're at a table eating, there's a knife in front of me, and I literally want to stab you in the throat and watch you bleed out slowly, and I barely am stopping myself. Misophonia is a medical condition. It's not just, I dislike this. It drives me literal murderous impulse.
Okay, Mart, I'm actually serious. I've literally been with people, and I've wanted to punch them in the face.
Well, I don't have misophonia. I don't like hearing chewing, but
No,
I
to
don't
me,
go crazy.
To me,
and-
if I'm looking at someone or hearing someone chewing, and if it's bothering me, then it really bothers me.
but
and
see,
I
even
can,
the fact that was a conditional, if it bothers you,
Oh,
someone with
but Bart,
misophonia
you, you can justify it all you want. You can call it.
I'm not
whatever.
justifying. By
you
the way,
can-
just to be clear, I'm saying they're crazy bastards.
okay.
I'm not justifying
Here's
it.
what I'm saying.
But I know people with it,
Here's what I'm saying.
and it's extreme.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Here's
actually do know people who actually come down with a murderous rage when they hear someone chewing. Because
Yes.
I really dislike hearing people chewing. It's definitely a pet peeve
okay,
of mine.
do
But
you,
it's
do
it's
you,
a pet
do you
peeve.
feel it? Do you feel it physically?
It's a pet peeve. It's
Okay,
not.
but
I don't want to.
As a matter of interest, do you feel it physically?
By physically, I do like it's like oh, God, I hate that sound.
Okay.
And I remove myself from the situation
Yeah.
if I can. But I
Let's
don't want
say-
to murder
Maybe
anyone.
there's varying degrees of it.
There must be.
I
There
won't
must
say
be. Like,
the
like,
extreme.
Here's what I mean by do you feel it physically. If I went up and kind of got my hand and kind of rubbed it, kind of gnarled it into your stomach, you'd feel that physically, wouldn't you?
yes, I would,
Okay. That's kind of what it feels like sometimes when I hear people chewing.
but only sometimes.
Okay, so that's like saying I have a fear of heights. And then you're
But only
like, are you
sometimes.
afraid of 5 millimeters height? No. Are you afraid of, and then you
No,
go
no,
up to a...
no, it's not. It's not. It's more like if we put you up on a height 20 times in a row, the same height from the same place, do you feel the same level of fear every single time? That's
Okay,
what it's
I
like.
agree 100%. I agree with 100% because you've just measured a height, Barry. So are you saying that I have to measure the measure the
Let's just
sound
agree.
the sound level of the chewing
Let's
for
just
me to
agree.
justify getting
There
annoyed
are
with it?
varying degrees of misophonia, and you have it.
Of
you're saying.
course, and I'm saying
Well, from what you're
Sometimes.
describing, you're describing that you have it.
yeah. Now, like, am I saying that I want to that it bothers me literally every time the same amount with literally everyone? Of course not. But no phobia is like that.
Is it not?
No, every
So-
phobia is a spectrum of how
So-
bad it is. Like,
So a person who suffers from agoraphobia, or not agoraphobia, arachnophobia, will react differently to
Can I just
different
point out,
spiders?
though, because there is a slight difference. A spectrum is where it's varying degrees. What you're talking about is maybe the same degree but inconsistent. So, and by the way, I'm not even saying that you're wrong or
Yeah,
correcting
yeah.
anything.
No,
I'm
no.
just saying that's what Barry was pointing out about. You seem to be indicating that there's a lack of consistency in how you feel it. You say sometimes it drives you mad. Whereas
No,
someone
I'm
who has
saying-
arachnophobia, every time a spider will drive them,
no.
whatever.
for a start, I've never spoken to someone who has arachnophobia, so I don't know. I would need to speak to them and say,
I use that as an example.
no,
Any
no,
phobia.
I know. But no, not any phobia, because I'm telling you a phobia and you're disagreeing with it.
No, I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm actually just pointing out
This is a
your
this is a
verbiage, if you know what I mean.
Phonia. Is that the same as a phobia?
Well, I don't think it's a phobia. It's a medical condition.
Yeah, it is a phobia.
But does it depend on how loud they're chewing, how far away they are from you?
It depends.
Again, it's definitely... See, you're describing your experience of it, Donald,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I'm talking from a medical perspective. I know multiple people with this, and I have read up extensively on it because it's difficult. And it is... I'm sure that there's varying degrees of it, but it is a medical condition. I say, somebody who says, I'm scared of heights, that's not a medical condition.
I don't know enough to be able to argue that. If you can, great.
I'm going to declare that I know enough. I'm no expert, but I've, read up on it and
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Why? That's your kind of just topic of the
no,
morning?
we were talking about phobias last week.
Oh, actually, I was going to say something that we should do. It's a kind of a correction of our talk last week. And I should point out that our channel, or whatever you call this, is liable to spread misinformation. Not disinformation, because it's not intentional. But I know Joe Rogan, for example, one of the bigger podcasters, gets criticized a lot because he sits there, spouts off whatever just pops into the top of his head. He chats away with whatever random guests, and he does like to bring on people who, from all the different kind of sides and opinions, which is a healthy thing to do, I think. But then people will criticize him for spreading misinformation because he said something that he believes is true, or his guest says something that they believe is true, and they don't really have anyone really checking it. There's another podcast I listen to. It's about an hour and a half long. And at the end of it, they always say, and how many citations do we have this week? And it'll usually be between 100 and 150. They research their podcast extensively. They put all of the references in the notes that you can see on Spotify or YouTube or whatever, so that you can look up where they got their information. which I love and respect.
It's not something we do.
But we do not do that, and we're not going to do that. So, anyway, the whole reason I'm saying all this is, I'm shooting the breeze and saying a lot of things. Well, surely some of it. I'm saying, gee, I remember this thing from 20 years ago. I'm sure there's some of it wrong. But we did say that, who was it? P. Diddy was paying Sting?
Yeah, I had read that, yeah.
$5,000 a day?
Yeah.
And he did say that. He was only joking, they're friends. So,
there we go.
Yeah, there's the truth getting in the way of a good story. Sorry.
That's all right.
To be that guy.
Yeah, no, because everybody had read that. I was in the news a couple of weeks ago. So.
Are you saying he wasn't paying them anything?
I'm sure he's paying them something, but it's not $5,000 a day.
No, it was probably a lump sum at the time. It's because I did find it strange that that it was a daily payment.
Yeah, exactly. That did seem weird too.
Even if it was a big payment and they broke it down, they don't know how long he's going to live. So if they had fined him $10 million, but they said, oh, but you got to pay it a bit of it every day. How do they know? So it was like, even when I read the story, it was kind of like, it's weird. But
hey, it's a good story. I'm sure that there's loads
story.
of things. It just so happens that I heard that after. I was like, it's not true. And I probably should point that out.
Yeah, and man, if you start doing that for everything we talk about,
I know we'll be around day.
We'll have to have a secondary podcast.
Correcting the previous one, yeah.
What is it called? Paul Riley sent in a top 10 games, but his top 3 are...
Wait, top 10 games ever, or...
Well, his top 10 games.
Okay, gone. Oh, yeah.
It's like Emlyn Hughes International Soccer. Do you remember that?
I do.
Kind of.
Oh, sorry. So you're saying this in the context of last week we were talking about video games. And okay, yeah, sorry. I kind of, that sprung out of me. So that's good. I do remember that. And it was great. That was before FIFA totally took over the soccer world. There was 3 different major soccer players. There was FIFA at the time, which at the time didn't even have a year after our number. It was just FIFA. There was also Sensible Soccer, which was huge.
Sensible Soccer,
and there was Emlyn Hughes Soccer Manager. And Emlyn Hughes, I loved it.
Yeah, it rings a tiny little bell. I don't remember it. I don't think I played it. If I played it, it was barely.
No, I can barely remember it now myself. I'm trying to remember, is that there was one where you could manage the team, but then it wasn't a pure management sim, because when the match was playing, you could just watch the updates as it flew across the screen in text, or you could zoom in and actually play some of the match. And see, could you?
I can remember. The second one was Bomb Jack, and his third one was Double Dragon.
Double Dragon. That was actually in the arcades.
Did he stop playing games in 1989? Did he?
Let's find out.
Well, he has kids, so I think yes, probably.
No, I have a kid and I still play.
Well, actually, yeah.
Yeah, he stopped playing games in 1989. Yeah.
Because they're all old.
But I do know that Paul and Linda, when they were younger, they used to work in a shop in what is now would be known as child labour, definitely. But they bought, they saved up their money and bought an Atari SD.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it? The young ones today would know what an Atari SD is, but
some of them would.
Yeah, I would challenge anyone who's under 20 to know what Atari SD is.
Wow.
Anyway, I think we can go on to the main course.
Wonderful.
And the title of the main course is again, Is Technology Destroying the Quality of Human Interaction?
Okay, well, I'll open up.
Yeah.
No.
Excellent.
I'm done. No. So, in a word, no, it's not destroying human interaction. Is it changing human interaction? 100%. But what technology didn't or hasn't, from way back when we were grunting at each other not to go near that big, huge cat with the big, long teeth, and then we figured out how to talk, that changed the way we interact with each other. And then eventually we started figuring out with quills and inks that we could write or draw on the cave walls and all that kind of stuff. That changed the way we interacted with each other. And then the Gutenberg, the printing press came along. That changed the way we interacted with each other. And then, and so on and so forth. The radio, the telephone, Morse code, telegrams. Technology constantly changes the way we interact with each other. But it doesn't destroy human interaction. It just evolves it. It just changes it. And I say this all the time to people. The only thing in our lives that is guaranteed not to change is that things change. We adapt. We evolve. Always.
I hear you, Barry, but I don't even know where I'll end on this yet, but I would think because you can point out, there were 20 other changes up to now and they all caused change, but all those changes were for the better. Now here's the 21st change. That doesn't necessarily mean that this particular one won't be for the worst.
Yeah, but we always that's what I'm saying. We always adapt and evolve to it, though. We always do, and like, there's no reason why we won't this time, or we won't the next time, and we won't the time after.
I
that.
see a kind of a subtle change or difference in this change, I guess, than every other technological change that came before in terms of human interaction, and that is now. I guess, and I wasn't sure how, when we're talking about technology and human interaction and all, how much of that covers social media and how much of that covers all the other aspects of human interaction that are covered by kind of technology. For example, emails and stuff like that, which doesn't qualify as social media. But I think I'm going to point at social media particularly and say, we did do something different with social media that was never, ever done before. Every other technological change that influenced human interaction, and I'm going to use writing as an example because it's probably the biggest one prior to this, all of them were just agnostic technological thing that just sat on the table and you used it. This is the first time that we have actually taken this technological thing and given it to another being with its own intelligence and allowed it free rein to control how we interact with each other using this technology. This is the first time in, I think, 2 podcasts that I've mentioned ChatGPT and AI, so I've been trying to hold off on it, but we definitely introduced we definitely introduced something new, I guess, this time around with this particular change by handing the algorithm, as we all call it, the reins to determine how people interact. And all we told the algorithm, and by we, it's really these companies that run social media, so say Facebook, YouTube, kind of those kind of things, we have, or they have, I guess, put an AI in behind the scenes and told it, make me money. That's all the AI is told to do. So all the AI is trying to do is put content in front of people that will generate clicks, keep people's attention, and this is a scientifically proven fact. You're more likely to pay attention to a post or to a topic that's inflammatory, that makes you angry, rather than, a nice picture of a kitten. You might like that, but you're going to respond and write responses and then get a response to that and then write a response to the response when it comes to kind of anything that'll cause aggro between people, which is why I don't know, I think it is true to say that the world is getting more divided now than it ever has been, and they can definitely trace that kind of trend back. Now, go back to 1970. There was the left and the right, and there was all different opinions, but it's just that it's becoming significantly more divided now, and that is, I think, definitely because this particular implementation of technology that we have now that is really driving human interaction isn't just sitting there happening. It's being driven by an intelligence that has its own agenda, and the agenda is not to facilitate us getting along or being happy or anything like that.
So, Marty, you're saying that what's different about the technology, correct me here, what's specific about the technology now is that the technology is used to, for want of a better thing, to feed on human
Conflict
nature
and kind of
tribalism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it taps into tribalism. And again, none of this is new. As you know, all of the features that are being amplified by social media today, for example, they all existed. You can point at, oh no, Mark, that isn't new. That was there 30 years ago before.
No, but it's
being amplified now.
Oh, amplified is the right word, because and while I agree with you to a certain degree about mostly, in fact, I agree with you mostly. This idea that, and look, we're all biased. We all have our own biases. We all have our own personalities, which comes to the fore even when you're typing a question into Google. the way you type the question, the way you phrase it, tells Google how to answer it for you. You know, so it'll give you back articles. We all end up in an echo chamber of opinions, and because of the internet, it's much easier to find people with the same ideals as you, which is why we have this tribalism, which is why we are more divided. So yeah, I agree with you in that sense, for sure, 100%. I still think that for the most part, technology, we tend to adapt to it, we tend to evolve with it, and then a new thing comes along and we adapt to that and evolve with it. And I was thinking purely as well, I was thinking of, when it comes to human interaction and stuff like that, I was thinking like back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, when we weren't quite as woke as we are now, and the man went out to work and the woman stayed at home being the stay-at-home mom, and he would work all day, there'd be no communication, because he'd get up in the morning, he'd go to work, and then he'd get home, be no communication because he's eating his dinner that you had to have cooked for him and on his table. Then he'd want to read the paper or watch the telly, depending on the decade, and then he'd go to bed and repeat. And they might have come. No, I'm not saying every couple was like this or every family, but it was definitely more common, I think. Nowadays, of course, with WhatsApp, with the voice calls and video calls and all that kind of stuff, I think people communicate an awful lot more.
That's true.
You know, when I know, like, when my wife goes off for work or stuff, when she used to have to go off for work to Germany or America, we'd be video calling every night just to say goodnight to each other. You know, or we text each other several times a day, you know, so there's a hell of a lot more communication there than I think there was in previous decades. So I think in that regard, technology is great. You know, and it's helped.
And I'm sure you remember back in the day when, you know, your dad would call their relative in America and it would be like, oh, don't stay on the phone more than 5 minutes because this is going to cost a bomb. Yeah. No, he'd be like, nah, I'll just call someone in Australia and do a video call for free for as long as I like all the time. Because, you know, I mean, that definitely is a, you know. But
I think it's funny that we both took this one topic and had totally different ways of looking at it. I looked at it from the very kind of personal level, whereas you looked at it from a very top-down, global.
But that is also partially because there's one thing I hate, is communicating with people on the phone. Or mostly ever, but definitely, you know, you see a text coming and it's like, oh, no, I have to answer that. And when somebody rings, you're like, why are you calling me? You send a text, or a WhatsApp. Who calls? Who talks on the phone? You know, my mind definitely went more big picture.
Yeah. You went to 1984, George Orwell, 1984, Big Brother watching you and all that stuff, whereas I went to the whole personal interactions.
So, Mart, based on what you said then, are you know, when you look at the question, is technology destroying the quality of human interaction? From the first part you said there, what are you saying?
Well, you see, I don't have a yes or a no answer. I mean, I guess, as Barry said, those bits are amazing, you know, just the simple, because I literally remember, we all do because we're all old, I remember the time when you would arrange to meet your friend at 4 o'clock under the, you know, Easton's clock in O'Connell Street, and if you were 10 minutes late because the bus was delayed, oh well, you're not going to find your friend now. Forget about it, go home again, it's done. Yep. You just, you know, you just failed.
I remember working with your dad on the building site, and we were building a foundation for a house. And I remember your dad going, right, I'll order the concrete. And he got in the car and drove off. He had to drive to the village, to the payphone, and ring the concrete company and tell them that they wanted a load of concrete. And then we had to wait a few hours for the concrete to arrive, and then it didn't arrive. So the dad had to go back into the village and ring the concrete company and say, where is he? And then the concrete person, the receptionist, I suppose, had to go on the CB, which was, what does the CB stand for?
Closed broadcast.
Closed broadcast radio, and go, breaker, Charlie, Roger, Alpha 5, where are you? Yeah, and say, where are you? And he said, well, I'm trying to find the house, but and then there was this like 3-way conversation going on, and eventually the guy found, you know, no, don't turn right at the field with the 3 cows, not the field with the 4 cows. And eventually the guy found the house and we got the concrete, but it was late in the afternoon at that point. And like when you think about how technology has changed that, you just say to someone, oh, here's my air code or my postcode or whatever, and your phone will bring you right to where you need to be.
See, when you focus on that side of it, there's absolutely no doubt technology has enormously enhanced human communication
and human interaction.
If you have human interaction, if you focus on that bit. But I guess it's just that if you take it holistically, and I'd never want to see that bit go. So I'm not saying get rid of it all, burn the computers. But I don't know. I just do think, like, I automatically think social media when I'm thinking, technology and human interaction. And I'm thinking social media is a cancer. It literally got Donald Trump into power. There's a documentary on Netflix that shows that. Now, you could say, actually, there's 50 different variables, and either one of them, if they were absent, he wouldn't have gone in, which is pretty true. So pointing your finger specifically at one thing is kind of unfair, maybe. But there was definitely Facebook had a huge role to play and really did get him in, So that's what social media did in, 6 years ago. And now when you look at chatbots and how good they are, I'm just thinking soon you're going to be, arguing with people on Twitter. Or, and by the way, I don't argue with people on Twitter or Reddit or Facebook or any of those things.
No.
I don't have Twitter. I had all these things and I just deleted them all when I got just...
Oh, no, I'm a lurker. For sure. I don't comment on stuff, but I'll read a thread for a little while and I'll just be like, I'm bored of that now.
Yeah, but I can definitely see people who do engage with others online.
Yeah.
And that is human interaction.
It is.
Already, and this was actually a big part of the reason why Elon Musk bought Twitter. He was convinced, no, there's loads of bots on there. And maybe there wasn't, maybe there wasn't. I don't think it's been conclusively proven yet. But what was there, when you look at what ChatGPT can do, and you can think, oh, geez, it's going to, anybody will be able to just clone the ChatGPT, throw it anywhere. You're going to be talking to anyone anywhere and you won't know that it's a person.
Yeah.
So the idea of talking to new people online in any capacity, even just a comment on a forum, you're probably talking to a bot, or you'll never know.
Is it possible, do you think, to like instruct a chat GPT, they need to come up with a better name, say, hey, ChatGPT, set up your own Twitter account and tweet every hour, just random stuff?
That's a good question to know.
Yes, because I can't remember. It's called AutoGPT. What they've started doing now is, see, right now we've
That's the free one. Not the free ones, open source, isn't it?
Well, they're all no, actually, that's not open source. No, you're right. No, they're not. I don't know.
AutoGPT, I think, is open source.
It could be. But ultimately, all it is right now the ChatGPT that we've experienced is you ask it a question, it'll talk to you like it's a person. That's all. But what people have been starting to do is, basically, instead of just asking, hey, give me code that'll make this website, instead you just tell it, spin up as many clones of yourself as you need and make me money on the internet. So you're giving it the autonomy to make multiple sequential decisions that will end up with an end product that makes money on the internet. So it might decide, I'm going to make a website, I'm going to do drop shipping, so I'm going to contact this factory in China, I'm going to sell stuff on the website, send the addresses to China. Now, I don't know to what stage of progression that's at yet, but in answer to your question, yes, it will be definitely possible to tell it to do dangerous stuff. Oh yeah. And there's also a thing called Chaos GPT. Just in case, the whole Terminator scenario, AIs will kill the world. Somebody took GPT and told it, try and destroy the world.
Yeah, try to annihilate humanity, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it just makes you realize, I mean, I know
humans
are
dumbasses.
Yeah, they're just messing. But
they're messing. Yeah.
And right now, GPT.
Catch this grenade.
Yeah, I'm convinced that GPT can't do that.
It failed, so we're still here.
Someday there will be some GPT that possibly might be able to, and so maybe it's going to challenge them to do it.
8 or 9 or 10.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think we do. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, you mentioned social media. You know who has social media? Things you didn't ask for.com. And if you want to log on to any of our social networks, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything, you can find all those links on the top of the page. It's pretty handy to get to. And we have been getting a few comments and stuff, and we've been looking through them.
Yeah, we'd like some more though.
Yep.
And subscribe.
Yep, like and subscribe. But our readers have gotten back to us. Rachel put out a poll, and the poll was saying, like, basically, is technology destroying human interaction?
And this poll was on Instagram, by the way.
Yeah, it was on Instagram, and 73% of the voters said yes, technology is destroying human interaction.
And I doubt we've changed anyone's minds
but
tonight.
But I suppose it's like because when we say it, and even this picture I'm looking at here of the pole, it's a picture of an iPhone, a picture of a phone basically. And I suppose when you think about it, when we say technology, we think technology that came around in the last 15 years, that type of thing, and we think mobile phones and stuff that's on mobile phones. But it's like, I mean, there's lots of stuff that's,
so I think, like, as Barry said, if you go back in time to the technological advances, like
but even if you look at it like
the aeroplane,
the airplane, like the new airplanes.
Oh, even the first one.
Well, okay, but
it was a pretty big advance.
But not going back, like the new engines that are on the new planes are like super efficient, like they're nothing like the old ones. Okay, so they're new technology, but they don't really encourage human interaction in that way. They do in the way that they make it cheaper for airlines to ship left and right to each other.
Yeah, it allow you to visit your families and friends.
Yeah, but
also
without
leading
the
to
planes,
human
they wouldn't have gone away in the first place because they couldn't have
Well,
got there.
that's true.
So you would have stayed
they would go
together
on the
with them.
board more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is more technology.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, as you were saying, Barry, literally everything is
An
technology.
interesting point. If you look at technology holistically over time, rather than just technology meaning computers. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So it's like so 78%, 73% of our people said yes, it's bad. So I wonder, are all those people, do people think of technology when we say technology? Do people just think mobile phones and computers?
Well,
and
I
that kind
think
of thing?
it's adding the two things together. Is because you're saying, is technology destroying human interaction? Once people hear human interaction, they automatically think of how do they connect with people?
Yeah, and you
And
connect with
that's-
people with a phone.
I'm sure people are thinking their phones and they're thinking, I'm in a room talking to a person, they hear a beep, and then they go looking on their phone while I was in mid-sentence, and now I'm just looking at them, staring at their screen, waiting for them to pay me attention again, standing there thinking, why am I bothering talking to this person in the first place?
Okay, Mart, what's interesting about that is I asked at home about this topic, okay? And Mom was saying that she went into Galway and she was sitting in Supermax, and she was saying that she was looking around and she was thinking of this topic today, and she was thinking, man, look at everyone that was in there on their mobile phones, and except that she was looking at it that it's in a good way, like you're able to go in now and you're able to sit into somewhere like Supermax, or you're able to sit in the park, you're able to sit somewhere, and you're dealing with you have a one-to-one relationship with your phone, but it's also a one-to-one relationship with who you're dealing with on your phone.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit down. Like, she was happy because she doesn't have to sit down and talk to some flimming strangers, or not that she has anything against that per se, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But I could look at that from another perspective, though. She is relieved that she is excused from the obligation of having to socially interact
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
with new people, because she has this phone that she can rely on. And yes, you could argue she's using it to talk to people or interact with people, but there's people she already knows. Whereas if there was a world with no mobile phones, then
they'd have newspapers.
Well,
There's a photograph. There is actually a brilliant photograph. It's from, I think it's from a station in either, it could be anywhere, but it doesn't matter. And it's a black and white photo. It's a really old-timey photograph. But it's a station full of people, every single one of them reading the newspaper. There's literally like 100 people in the photograph. Every one of them are reading their newspaper. Yeah. We will always find a way to not have to interact with the fellow beside us. Because we don't want that. Like you said, Martin.
There was a time, even in my youth, when you could just talk to the person sitting on the bus beside you, or if you did that now, you are a freak and a weirdo. Yeah. Because whoever you're talking,
I talk to random strangers all the time.
Oh, really?
Well, not on the bus, because I don't go on the bus.
Do you mean like when you're in a pub, or when you were working in a pub? Or?
Well, no, I mean like if I'm I've talked to people when I've been in queues, or
Well, maybe in a queue.
When I'm out walking the dog or something like that.
No. Walking a dog, you kind of have to, especially if they have a dog. That happens automatically.
Are you saying, Mart, if the person has an opportunity to go on the phone, that they will sooner go on the phone than
they definitely will.
Talk
but
to
not
someone.
only that, the fact that exists as an option now, which it didn't at one point, has now really made trying to talk to someone in a circumstance where they could be on their phone kind of makes you a weirdo. No, don't get me wrong. I don't want to do it, and I definitely don't want anyone to do it to me. But I'm just saying, if you're going to look at it from a human interaction perspective, there is now less of a human interaction surface than there was before because of phones specifically. Which suits me fine, by the way. I'm just saying, if you call that destroying human interaction, I don't know. And especially, as you say, because you're using your phone to interact with somebody.
And I still go back to, I honestly believe that we will adapt and evolve still, because that's what we always do.
Yeah. But I guess I think if you look at it from a very basic, two people are beside each other, is the mobile phone or technology, if you look at it as being the mobile phone, is that increasing human interaction? No. Because they're right beside each other, they could talk anyway if they wanted. But if you look at it from a more overall big picture perspective, is it mobile phones and that kind of technology, is it bringing more good into the world or more bad? That I am a bit more uncertain about. I can see more bad that way, definitely. Big picture.
If you were to ask a question, again, are mobile phones...
Technology.
Are mobile phones good technology or bad technology? What side do they sway on?
Overall, I would land on, I'm glad we have them. I could never, ever go back to not having one. I remember not having one and it sucked, so they're great. But I can also see a very big ill at a more societal level introduced by this technology too.
Because it's kind of like saying there was a time when a machete didn't exist and then it was existing and it was handy to cut through scrub in forest, but it was also handy to flim and chop someone up.
But that's true of
a lot of stuff.
That's true of a huge amount. Again, let's go back to airplanes. Yay, it's a great way of transporting people from A to B. It's also a great way of transporting a bomb from A to B.
Yeah.
Drop a bomb on people or shoot bullets at things. Take any technology. You nearly said that about her. What did Oppenheimer say?
Oh, damn it. I love Oppenheimer.
The killer of
I
worlds.
have become death, destroyer of worlds.
Destroyer of worlds, yeah. And he, he helped create the atomic bomb, but also nuclear energy and nuclear power. So almost everything has
a downside, yeah.
Yeah, has a weapon.
Do you know where he got that quote from, by the way?
The Hindus, was it?
Yeah, he was big into the Bhagavad Gita, which is like the Eastern Bible.
I remember once, that was the first thing I ever sold on eBay.
Bhagavad Gita?
I was walking up the street in Dublin and some guy just handed me this book. And I had never actually sold anything on eBay, so I was kind of thinking, I would like to just sell something and see. And I went for something like a tenner. I was like,
really?
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
I'll walk and look for the guy again, see if he gets some more books. Give me more of them free books. I'm making a fortune on them.
But no, Dad would have said, Mart, he would have said that technology was definitely making life worse. Okay, but so again, I just want to read the topic again. Is technology destroying the quality of human interaction? So he would have said, like, oh, those bloody mobile phones, put them down. That's the way he would have been. So,
well, your dad is very much in the moment and the place.
Yeah. And he definitely would have been the type of, it doesn't matter who he was sitting beside, he'd get conversation out of someone
And that's what I'm like as well.
Yeah.
5 minutes with a stranger and I know half their life story. So,
but it's interesting, Mark, because when we did talk about this at home, it was like Lucy said that she pointed out exactly that same type of person, that when you're on the phone, she said that it's annoying when you're in the middle of a conversation with someone and then they take out their phone and start talking, then they go on the phone or just basically take out their phone. It's clearly a sign of you're not interested in this conversation, or you're not you're not with this at all, type of thing. It's terrible. I was listening to a thing, looking into this topic. Linda shared a podcast with me, and it was about these two people were interviewing kids, and they were looking at the way that kids were on Roblox load. So you're getting to know Roblox, Barry, and
what is that? It's a video game, right?
It's kind of like Minecraft.
It's kind of like a platform that there's loads of different little games on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and they're all made with the same one Roblox engine. So all the kind of games kind of look like each other, okay? Mm-hmm. But And obviously then some of them are bigger and smaller. But what there is like it's built into the engine that you can like communicate with each other easily. So the interview that I was looking at, they were talking about kids see when they're looking at friends, kids see their interaction with friends online the same as interaction is as valuable as it is interaction with kids that they'd be playing football with and stuff in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, almost like they're evolving
Yes. You see, when
and adapting.
because they only know what it's like to be.
Oh, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah.
They've grown up with it.
They've grown up with it. They don't know what it's like.
You've adapted the darkness.
to not
So
have.
you reckon
They were
in
born to it.
20 years when they're grown up older, they won't have that kind of computer warrior anonymity behind the screen, being mean to other people just because you don't feel that they're people? Because
Actually, interestingly, that's some of the thing they were talking about. They were talking about, like if someone who didn't go on the internet at all, somehow, then went on the internet today. Okay, and let's say they were like 20. Let's say they were our age. Okay, 40s. Okay, and they went on the internet, and then they went into chat rooms or they went into like Call of Duty or League of Legends or something. Okay, they don't know the social. You know the way there's a social rules like when you're online.
Yeah, there's a lot
they
of them, yeah.
don't know those rules, but the kids that are growing up do know the rules. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So going forward for the kids, like we look at like Facebook's metaverse as like, oh man, this is crazy type of thing. But if you're a kid that's growing up, if you're a kid that's 6 years old or 5 years old today, and in 20 years, they're going to be like still very, very, very young people at 25 or 26.
okay, but I need to make a clarification because you've kind of lost me here. When you're talking about you go in a chat room or in a game and you don't know the rules, are you saying that someone like that might be rude to another person because they're unaware of the rules?
Yeah.
Because I think that's not why that happens. I think it's more there's a cognitive dissonance from if you're sitting across the table from a person and they say something that you strongly disagree with. You might just tell them, or you might say, gee, that's silly, or they might just say, oh, I don't agree, or you might ignore them. If you're on YouTube and somebody says something you don't agree, you'll say, you're a retard, you should kill yourself. The psychological distancing of being behind a screen, you're just talking to chat on a screen, that's not everyone. In fact, the vast majority of people don't feel like this, I'm sure, but a significant percentage do feel that distancing, that they allow themselves to be extremely rude or cruel or just horrible to other human beings.
Douche
in a way,
canoes
yeah, which in a way they'd never do in real life. I don't think that those people who act that way, it isn't because they're unaware that there are social rules of etiquette that you should perform to when you're online. It's more just that you could say, oh, they're assholes, but actually they have this psychological distancing that they wouldn't behave like that with a human being in front of them, but they do to a screen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And the point I was trying to make is kids that are growing up today, small children that are growing up, today we look at like mobile phones and blah, 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 social media and all this thing is a blocker because it's like we do remember what it was like when mobile phones literally didn't exist. But the rules that are required to operate healthily in the metaverse, we don't know those rules. Like, arguably, nobody knows those rules because the metaverse is still being formed as we speak.
Is this a conversation specifically about the metaverse or just about all online interactions with other people?
I'm looking at it from the lens of human interaction because in the future, there will be way, way more human interaction in the metaverse.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, today a lot of our age, when we look at human interaction in the metaverse, I suppose here's a question to you both: is would you look at human interaction in the metaverse as real friendship?
By metaverse, you mean like Facebook?
Yeah,
I mean, let's use Facebook. No,
You're losing me
let's
here anyway. You're losing me already, right? We were talking about online interactions generally, and you started specifically talking exclusively only about interactions in the metaverse. And that's fine if you have a point to make about that, but I'm not sure when you're saying that, do you mean all online interaction? What about a friendship that's formed in Azeroth, in World of Warcraft?
Okay, So what I mean is, you can use Facebook's metaverse as an example, or you can use all of the metaverse, because we know the metaverse is something different. Facebook has kind of done, quote, metaverse, and they want to make it synonymous with just Facebook. We know that the metaverse in a way is Azeroth, when you're...
okay, so you don't mean the metaverse to mean the thing that's literally called the metaverse. You can see where our confusion would arise.
But
you had a different definition.
No, wait.
I didn't know the metaverse was anything other than Facebook.
No, wait. It's you wouldn't have called the you wouldn't have called...
No, I might have called it cyberspace, but I wouldn't.
Okay,
I would just say...
Okay, call it cyberspace.
I would have just said online interaction, but yeah.
Call it online interaction. But the point being, when you're on, quote unquote, the internet, okay, do you see it as, and you make friends on the internet, do you see those friends as real friends? Because a lot of people of our generation and older wouldn't look at those friendships as real friendships.
No, they are. For me, anyway, certainly. I have friends I made on World of Warcraft years ago, and I'm still in contact with them.
Yeah.
And I've met up with a few of them over the years. So, yeah, 100%.
I mean, already your question answers itself, because you said, the friends you make, do you see them as real friends? Well, I just happen to have never made any friends online. But if I did, the definition of defining them as a friend and using the phrase making friends with them means that I see them as friends. And if you're to ask me, is there some kind of a psychological differentiation in my mind? I don't know. I've never made an online friend.
Oh,
I know. Or a real one. So I don't know. But I think ultimately where I'm trying to get out of what you were saying, when you're saying kids don't see a differentiation between people that they interact with online and say people that they interact with in the real world, I'm just wondering, is that a child thing and then they'll grow out of it? Or is that just the youth of today that are growing up with online and therefore they see it as more real than a generation that didn't grow up with it, came along, picked it up, interacted with people on it, and a good percentage of them are just extra cruel in the online interface that wouldn't be in the real world because they're just not good at this whole online thing. I don't know.
You said something there, but I forget exactly what you said. It was like, basically, kids are going to grow into the online world, and they won't know what it's like.
And you think they'll be better at it than us because they've grown up with it.
Yeah, because they're learning the rules from the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And that's exactly what Barry's saying when he says, we will evolve. This is literally an example of the evolution as it's taking place right now.
Yeah. So let me think now. Just let me look over this. Did you know that 90% of Irish adults have a mobile phone?
What the hell is wrong with the other 10%?
Yeah, what the hell are the other 10% doing?
I don't know how old this is, but I would say it's 90%. Yeah.
It's got to be more than 90%.
It's got to be.
Like, I know my dad never had a phone, and we got him one a few times, but he was just like, nah.
But he had a mobile phone.
No, he did not.
I don't know if you could haul it. Like, we bought him one.
We bought him one and left it on the shelf.
So
can you say you have a mobile phone if you own one?
Yeah.
And never use it?
No, but I'm shocked if... Well, then again, when you say 90% of Irish... Did you say Irish people or Irish adults?
Irish people. Irish adults.
Oh, okay. Because
I'm sure it's like 99%.
I'm shocked if it's that low. But
the adult thing is important.
I don't know. I'm surprised at that.
Yeah.
And what are the top 3 uses do you think there are?
Of mobile phones?
Mobile phones.
For Irish adults.
Oh, for Irish adults using mobile phones. Probably not phone calls.
You're actually right, yeah.
I mean, I always still think we should just change the name mobile phone. Because that's like calling a car
not horse.
Movable seat. I mean, yeah, it's moving, and yes, there's a seat in it that you sit on, but I mean, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
The
mobile is and actually, there. I just said it there. I think mobile is more used now than mobile phone. or cell phone. I think in America they call it cell phone, and I think cell. Have you got your cell on you?
I just think it's
Have
time
you got
to
your mobile?
change the name.
What would you
Good luck.
suggest?
I have no idea. Good luck to the marketing people that
Yeah.
have to change the name of, yeah.
Do you know why they call cell phones in America?
Oh, the same reason that they call the mobile phones here. They're mobile.
Nope.
And they use cells to communicate.
Yeah, but what's a cell?
A cell is a telephone, mobile phone tower that the phone pings to, and then that pings the satellite, which pings the next cell.
Yeah,
the
like
person is still.
if it's kind of like if you were to imagine a kind of a Settlers of Catan style, hexagonal map.
Yeah, everybody knows what that is.
And well, a lot of people do. Look it up. But yeah, so that's where Americans get the term cell from, because you switch from cell to cell, and there's a switch over when you go from cell to cell. But that's it, guys. I think. What is the topic for next week? We were going to put up a poll. We're going to put up a poll. I'm going to ask, what are the 2 potential topics that we would go between? So what are the 2 ones that you wanted to go between?
Well, I was thinking we'd want to present the people with 2 choices. And we wanted the choices to be kind of different enough thematically so that you could kind of pick a side. Now, just so you know, you can vote on YouTube, you can vote on Instagram, and I guess Spotify or wherever else you listen to this at. But the 2 choices will be option number 1, the future of cinema. Or option number 2, the death penalty.
Okay, so the future of cinema or the death penalty. So what would people rather hear about?
Yeah, so cast your vote, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yep.
And we should actually just say, kind of to state the obvious at this stage, anyone who has been a long-time listener who's heard previous editions of our podcast, this is the first one where we hopefully have significantly better sound quality, because we actually, it was bestowed by a benefactor, actual proper equipment that hopefully sounds better than a mobile phone sitting in a corner.
So thanks for that. And thanks for everyone who subscribes and comments as well. Fair play to you.
That's it, guys. Until we meet up again. That's it.
Alrighty, thank you everybody. Goodbye.